There are some who say that this is the year of the woman. I would argue that this is not the year of the woman, but it is the beginning of a lifetime of women in leadership. Women are running things, and it's about time. And so I'm excited because we have two special ladies with us today, special boss ladies with us today. We've got Mayor Shawyn Patterson Howard with us, and we've got the president of TRIBL Records, Stephanie Valcarcel, and they're here to talk to me a little bit about some of the special nuances of what it means to be a lady who is in control, a boss lady. Join the conversation.
Super excited for this conversation. Glad to have both of you sitting at the table across from each other, because I know you guys separately, but you guys have not met each other, so it's always good to bring two powerful people together, and that's really why I brought you guys together. I often think about you all. I think you have some similarities in your ability to lead, to command a room, to make things happen, and so this is called Boss Ladies. That's what we decided to call it. But even in that, I was thinking about, on my way here, I was thinking about the fact that we would never have an episode called Boss Men. And I think the reason, I think that's what we want to talk about. I think there is this thing, right, that although we have made improvements, although we have powerful women, I think there's still a ways to go. I think there's still some disparity in terms of how women are treated, even in leadership. Like, I can be the president, and Stephanie's the president of TRIBL Records. She is a co-founder. She's a co-founder of Gamut House, and Shawyn is a mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, and the soon-to-be president of the National Association, African American Mayors Association. I ain't never gonna get that right, but that's what she is. And I think with all of that, though, there's still this underlying, you're great, but also you're a woman, right? And all the stuff that kind of comes along with that. And so that's what I kind of want to dig into, because I think that, one of the things I was thinking about, I have, conversations with a lot of different people, but I know a lot of powerful women. And no matter how powerful they are, they still feel like there is this wall or ceiling, depending on the vantage point, that they have to break through in order to be respected in their respective industries. And so that was my first question is, do you all feel like that? And what does that look like in your life? Do you still feel like, as president, as mayor, that there are still some things that I still have to fight to get through to be respected in my area?
Without a doubt, as the first woman mayor for the city of Mount Vernon, not just the first woman mayor for the city of Mount Vernon, but the first woman mayor of a city in Westchester County.
Wow.
Right? And so Yonkers, New Rochelle, White Plains, Peekskill had never had a woman mayor. And so to be the first woman mayor in Westchester and sitting at the table with all men when we have the big cities meetings, it was different. People said, oh, well, you're the first black woman, but I'm also the first woman. And so history was made on both, in both places. And when people talk to me, they often say, well, how does it feel to be the first woman? And I said, well, I never sought to make history. I'm always seeking to make impact. And so I'm here not just to do the work as a woman, but I'm here to do the work of a mayor. And if I do it excellently as a woman, great. But that was not what I was seeking. I'm just seeking to be respected. And then the other thing, it's very interesting. Whenever I go into a room, a boardroom, and even in my own conference room, it's interesting how the men will always save the head chair for me. And they did that many, many years ago. And I said, I like to sit in the middle because my conference table is about 20 feet long. I like to sit in the middle and I can have a good perspective of everyone. And they said, but Madam Mayor, this is the head of the table. I said, wherever I sit is the head of the table, right? And I didn't mean to sound cocky, but I didn't feel, I found myself.
I need to say that wherever I go,
I'm at the head of the yes. And so it's always, oh, well, we've saved this seat for you. And I was like, wherever I sit in the room, I'm the mayor. Wherever I sit at the table is the head of the table. I don't need you to carve out a space for me. Because as a woman, I don't feel I need to lead in the same traditional way as a man. And so, you know, the head of the table makes you feel powerful. Well, no, wherever I'm sitting, I'm good.
Yeah, that's the seat of power.
That's the seat of power.
Yeah, I love that.
I think I can relate to everything you're saying, but on a more practical standpoint, like every day, I think that there's little walls or little ceilings that I'm constantly picking at, just little by little, because whatever room you're in, whether it's male or females, like it comes both ways as well. Like it's not just for men. You experience, you know, you hear about it in racial relations, microaggressions. I also experiencing as a woman. There's certain little phrases or little just comments that are made that hit you a little differently. Like, wait, that sounded like that was intended one way. That was intended. Okay, I see where you're coming from. But I also, I think I'm constantly every day fighting against those little comments or situations or microaggressions, whatever they are. So I don't know that there is like one specific situation. It's just like, it's a cultural, it's just a consistent pattern.
Yeah.
And I also, you know, I give grace because I can't expect a man to understand where I'm coming from. They haven't walked my shoes. They haven't experienced what I've experienced. It's just a different, you know, experience altogether. So I'm constantly giving grace, but also making my voice heard as gracefully as possible. Like, hey, maybe you said this and this, I didn't appreciate this, or, you know, can we talk about the way you reacted to this or didn't react to this or whatever it is. I'm having a lot more of those conversations behind the scenes. So it's everyday small.
Do you find that, because as you were saying, I was thinking, do you find that you have to be cautious in your approach when you're dealing with?
Oh, absolutely.
And okay, tell me how you navigate through that, because I think it's easy for people to say that the person who speaks up, especially specifically a woman who speaks up, is a female dog, let's say it that way for our viewers, right? Or aggressive,
emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on her rag.
Yeah, right.
They'll say
that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it must be her
That
time.
Yeah. So how do you navigate? How do you navigate through that?
How do I navigate through it? I guess maybe I've gotten to a space and a place in my life. I'm getting ready to turn 55 in May, and where I don't care any longer. I used to dance and try and find a way to make my voice a little sing-songy. I'm not an emotional person. The more frustrated I get, the more quiet I get in my tone, and I smile more, right? Because then it's.
I don't like people like that.
So, and you see my hand doing so. This is kind of one of my tells when I go, well, you know, and my hand just starts gently sliding across the table, because I want them to hear what I say. I want them to hear what I say and not experience my body language, because I'm a person who's very much about body language, and when your body language gets this or you get loud, I can't hear what you're saying because I'm seeing all of this action and this motion. And so I get quiet and I get calm so that you can hear every word that I say. And we've had to fight for many years against the angry black woman. And I came to a term, I said, well, I'm not an angry black woman, but I am a black woman who gets angry. And I have a right to be angry because what you said was offensive. It was disrespectful. And that's whether it's a man, it's a woman, it's a black person, it's a white person. Because like you said, it's not just men who have microaggressions, it's women. And oftentimes women, I'm like, boo, I'm not in competition with you. I'm not trying to get your man. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not comparing your shoes with my shoes, your bag with my bag, your hair with my bag. I'm here to do business. And you're sitting here looking at me in a different way, but you don't give that same energy to a man. You're looking at the man with what he's coming. And then when I sit down across the table from you, you look at me in a way that's different. And so women come at women with different microaggressions also. It's not just something that we have to...
What is that about? Why, like, we understand, I guess, we can try to understand.
Because there's that innate competition or sometimes that cattiness.
It's a scarcity mindset. That's where it really comes from.
And is there enough space for both of us? Because I've been the only woman or one of few in the room. I've been the only black person or person of color or few in a room. And when you're used to being the only one at the room and the only one at the table, when someone else comes, it's kind of like I've lost my sacred alone space. We talk about not wanting to be the only one. But then when others come in the room, so we have to not only open doors and create space at the table, but hold the door open and save space at the table for others who are coming behind us.
So I'm going to throw this out there. Is that valid, though? Is there some validity to the thought that there may not be room for all of us at this table?
I don't think so.
No.
I can think of specific situations, and I like to have other women at the table.
Absolutely.
I like it. I think.
But have they made room for other women at the table, right? Because we know, even as an African American man, I know sometimes that they literally have left a spot for us, right? So they've left a spot for a woman, but we don't want 3 and 4 women on this board or in this company. I'm saying sometimes I wonder if there is, I don't think we need to lean into it, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying I wonder if the sentiments behind it are really based in some reality that there may be less opportunity and your presence actually does affect me because I'm not sure that they have created space for all of us to be in.
I think when you're in a position of leadership, and like I can speak for myself, and I'm sure you as well, when you're in a position, you actually have the opportunity to create more space.
That's right.
That's the thing. Yeah.
So I don't not ever thinking, oh, she's gonna take my spot, or when I connect with other women in positions of leadership, I'm like, what are you doing? How can we collaborate? How do I help you? How do you help me? Okay, great. I have a great intern or manager who would be great for your position. I'm constantly thinking of the best candidates, male or female, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But when you're in a position of leadership, I think your mindset definitely
sense of responsibility.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I'm constantly thinking, how can I position more women of color in rooms? Because we need that perspective.
You need it.
In every area, whether it's marketing, management. In my case, like if they're speaking to artists, we have female artists who need storytelling on a marketing rollout, and they need a female perspective on it. We're working on a tour right now where it's all female. It's an all-female headlining tour. We were very intentional about making sure that our creative director, that the people leading the narrative brought a female perspective as well. So it's just, I think as a leader in the space, I'm constantly thinking, how do I create more room and more opportunities for more women?
I love that.
And you have to change the mindset. We have been raised to be competitors as opposed to collaborators. And so, a house divided against itself can't stand. You've said that. But my girlfriend, Cynthia Turnquest Jones, said something to me a few years ago. She says they can't conquer what they can't divide. And people know, well, if I want to maintain control, because it's about control, whether it's men, women, white, black, old, young, the church elders, the new people coming in, if we can give you what you want and get you to separate from this person, then we can keep your space small. They're terrified of us collaborating. Right? Because when you collaborate and we're innovators, we're strategic, we're intentional, we've been forced to do far more with far less and come out successfully. And so that's scary to people who have been in power and who are used to maintaining that power. Power is about maintaining power. People who are oftentimes have historically been in power want to maintain power, they want to build more power. They're not necessarily interested in sharing power. And so when you have people who are willing to collaborate and come into that room and create more space, that's very scary. And so they'll pick you off and try and give you what you want and push someone else out. And if you have a small mindset, then that works.
Yeah.
But when people have gotten to a space where they understand their power, they understand their influence, they understand the need to build and expand our capacity and our bandwidth, it becomes a different conversation. I'm not about power. I'm about influence. Influence is far greater than power. Power, when you lead from a position of power, then someone knows always coming for you. When you have influence, that's why I said I'm not looking to impress you, I'm looking to leave a lasting impression upon you.
Yeah, love that.
So what's interesting is I don't really remember in the secular realm me needing to submit to female authority. I don't recall that. However, in the church world, I certainly have had that experience. I've had to submit to female authority, and some was good, some was not so good. To be honest, I think that, and this can go both directions, I think that good leaders learn how to speak to different demographics, and I think a demographic is male to female and female to male, and we don't speak to each the same. And so I think in some ways, the person I had to submit to needed to learn a little bit about how men work and operate and what kind of works best for men versus what works best for females. And so if I'm honest, there was some friction there. However, I will say none of that was due to me not being open to submitting to female leadership or authority. I have no issues with that at all, but it does have to do with us learning one another and making sure that we're sensitive to the needs of each person.
I want to turn the corner a little bit. This is a Christian platform primarily, and so I want to talk about women and the church. I have the privilege, I would say, of pastoring a church where, in our church, about 50% of the leadership, probably more than 50%, are women. And what I've come to realize is that doesn't look like that everywhere. There was, and I think in talking to them, one of the things that they've explained to me, because hello, I'm not a woman, so I don't understand fully what you all are experiencing, but they said that there's a difference, even have some female pastors and female elders, and they're saying the response of people is different to them as a female than it would be for any of the male pastors or the male ministers or the male elders. And so my question to you all is, have you seen this played out, and what has been your personal experience with being a woman in the church?
Well, that's where that cattiness, that competitive nature comes from. Churches have traditionally been male dominated. And so women, I don't care whether you're in the business place or you're in the church, use their feminine wiles. And when you use your feminine wiles to approach a church leader as a man, that's one thing. You have to put that in your pocket when it comes to approaching a female church leader, right? That manipulation, that coyness, oh, praise the Lord, Pastor. I brought you a pie. I baked you.
Oh, they don't make them like that no more.
No, I mean,
they don't make them like that no more.
Excuse me, Pastor, can I fix your hair? Or your glasses are not. You know, those things don't work. And so when a woman sometimes in the church, again, it's an innate cattiness sometimes, unfortunately, that rises up, and I've seen it in church.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I grew up in a Hispanic Pentecostal church, so you weren't allowed to wear makeup, wear earrings, like you had to wear long skirts, like it was all of that, and there was never a woman on platform. Like there just never was. I never saw it. Like she was the worship leader, and that's it.
Wow.
And the pastor's wife. I never even heard her speak. Like, I don't think I ever had a conversation with her, ever.
Second row NC.
Yeah, like, I actually, and it's crazy because I'm thinking about it now, I don't even remember what she looks like.
Wow.
I don't even remember what she looks like. That's how much in the shadow she was, like, kept. But even now, as I, like, go to different churches. I have the privilege of going to churches like everywhere, all over the world. And I see the different dynamics, and a lot of it is cultural. It's just, you know, different legalistic cultural norms that are built over time, and women either still are not allowed to be on platform, or if they are on platform, you know, it's with a specific purpose for a specific agenda to say a specific thing. It's not like they have freedom to speak like just freely. So I've seen culture, at least from a Hispanic standpoint, like it's definitely evolved. I see more women on platform. I see more women in leadership roles. I still also see like the barrier and the confines in which they work and have to operate. And I always come in and I'm like, I'm the tornado coming in, and I'm like, well, why don't you do this, and why don't you do that, and why don't you try this, and they're
you're
like,
good for it, why don't you?
And they're like, relax, like, and sometimes I can rub people the wrong way because of that, but I'm always, you know, trying to like push it a little.
But do you
forward.
feel like that's your role? Is that a?
That's a good question.
Is that a call to challenge some of those norms?
I think so. I would say so. I've learned to be a little bit more graceful in my delivery. And that's where wisdom comes in. You learn when to speak, when not to speak. You can say one sentence and you can kind of pick on, you know if someone's receiving it or not, and you know it to stop or not. Like, okay, they're open to receiving a little bit more, you know, feedback or whatever it is. So I've learned to like use wisdom in those areas. Like some people, if they don't want to change and they don't want to receive, no matter, you could like talk till they're blue in the face and it won't make a difference. You learn who's ready to receive, who's not, and that's where you just use wisdom. I don't always, you know, there's some churches where I just won't even talk. I won't. I just know. Like I can feel the vibe when I walk in. I'll walk in and they just won't even acknowledge me sometimes. I've had that happen where I walk in and they go straight, and they go straight to the artist. Great, I'll introduce myself, and you can already feel the vibe. Like they have no interest in even talking to you. I'll just sit there quietly. There's other churches who are a little bit more welcoming and friendly, and they're like, so what do you know, they'll start conversation, and you know, we'll go from there. But you can feel the vibe.
I'm super excited about the shift of women coming to the forefront because, number one, it's about time. In fact, it's past time. But also, I believe that it is what God is doing in the earth. I believe that this is a time for maybe some of the things that we felt like were gender norms. I don't know if that was a God thing or if it was a us thing. I think that we're recognizing that God created both male and female. And in that creation, he's given us different gifts and abilities and talents. And just because you fall into the category of female doesn't mean that you shouldn't tap into all of the gifts and the talents and the expertise that the Lord has given you. And so I'm excited because I think we're finally getting to a place where some people, not all, are actually starting to erase that line as it relates to the professional environment. I do want to say this. I mean that specifically to how we work with one another. But I think that you can still recognize that there is a difference between men and women, and that's not to be used to diminish any specific gender. But I think that it's okay to identify that we are different, but that we can work together.
So how do you stay out of offense when people are offensive? Like, that is offensive. Like, I walk into a room and you don't even acknowledge me. That is offensive. That's something to be offended by. How do you keep that from blocking your heart and making you callous toward people?
That's a good question. So I've learned to take my 2 minutes before I say anything. I think you might have been around me. Like
I've seen you in action.
I'll take my 2 minutes. I'll take my breather, and then I'll remember they were brought up differently. They have a different experience. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know what happened to them earlier in that day. I don't know, you know, they lost their grandmother. I don't know anything about where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna extend grace, but I'm also going to acknowledge that that was offensive. And usually what I've started doing recently is I started writing it down in my notes, writing my thoughts down. 2 sentences, okay, great. I'll go back to it. I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, well, that was just me being petty. That was me being like really hurt and angry.
I love that.
And then I'll this is a lot of work, as like I'll rewrite it, and then that's how I'm able to articulate what I'm actually feeling.
I love that.
And be graceful in delivery. So I've had to do that, and sometimes it takes me a couple of days to do that. And if it's worth it, I'll bring it up. If at that point in a couple of days I don't even care. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
They're fine. I'm fine. And I don't know, protecting your heart like that. Like, how do I protect my heart? Like, I literally have to give them grace, because there's plenty of times that I've offended people and don't even know it. I've offended it, and then it wasn't even intentional.
Right.
They just caught me on a bad day, and I was dealing with a lot and dealing with this person, and my tone might have been a little different, and I need grace in those times also. So
yeah, how do you protect your heart?
I mean, well, look, when I ran, I asked God for 3 things. I said, allow the weight of your anointing to be heavier than the weight of the assignment. Toughen my skin, but keep my heart tender so I could love your people and serve your people. And then help me not to become them, right? Because in all walks of life, I've just seen people become bitter and frustrated. And years ago, I used to tell my clients, as I was actively practicing and as a social worker, you can't control what people think, feel, do, or say, but you can control and you are responsible for how you respond to it. And then I started saying things to them like, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. And I've really taken that on, right? So if it's hot, I'm cooling it down. If it's cold, I'm warming it up. I've learned how not to take myself so seriously to allow their issue to become my issue. Right? I'm not going to allow your issue to become my issue. I'm going to restart. I'm going to look, and I always taste my words now before I spit them out. Right? And I've learned usually I will always have a bottle of water or some tea with me, and especially if someone says something that irritates me,
take a little sip.
I take a sip, right? Because I'm tasting the bitter words, getting ready to come out. So I'll just
and then the hand.
And then the hand, right? And really that's what I do. And so my staff around me, they laugh because they have learned me, they know me, and they're like, "Ooh, I saw it." And but if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. And later on, there are moments that break my heart, and I have to go home and lay and pray so that I can get back up and slay, right? And it's really that. There are just things that I say to myself that have become rote. I'm like, pray, cry, worship, wash your face.
A good
repeat.
Therapist, a good
A therapist.
A very good therapist.
I go speak to my pastor. I mean, but I'm never going to allow someone to see me suffer in the sunshine. I've decided that. You do not have the privilege to see me suffer in the sunshine. I will share my scars with you, because that's what I choose to do. But you will never see me suffer in the sunshine, because people will do things to literally hijack you emotionally.
Oh, I love that.
Because they want to see a response and a reaction, and I'm not going to give them that.
I love that so much, because I think that we can get so caught up in the responses of people and what other people are doing that we forget that it's sunshine, right? Like they can actually make everything overcast, right?
Yes.
Like it's like I no longer remembered that this is what this is the space that I prayed for. Right? And I've seen people walk away from things that they prayed for because the pressure was too hard. And it's like, we can't throw away the blessing when we recognize that there's a giant in the land, right? Like the promised land was the promised land, but there were giants there.
There were giants.
You got to fight, right? And so I think, as unfortunate as it is, I think what we're saying is that this is a part of the challenge in occupying the space that you've been given, is that there's some giants.
And it's a real challenge, and I think it's really important for us to be able to have that conversation as leaders. Oftentimes, like I said, we work so hard to impress people and make them think that it's always good. But if you're impressing people, how are you inspiring them? Because someone who's impressed by you, when they hit their brick wall, then they'll fall back and they say, well, I'm not a leader because this one does it so easily. And I think it's really important to be able just to share every once in a while. No, it's not so easy.
Right.
And I think people
never
learn
easy.
more from
It's
your
never
vulnerability and your truth than they do from you telling me, oh, look, girl, I slay and I slay and I slay. No, there are days you're slayed and you are on your face and you are boo-hooing and crying and you have more questions than answers. And that's what people need to understand, because I've looked at people who I've been impressed by, and until they told me privately, do you know, before I get up, I'm so nervous, or I question myself, or I sit there and I get places, I'm saying, God, did you set me up? Did you punk me? I'm going, you? Not you. They're absolutely me. And so now I know there are a lot of people who see me in that same light, and it doesn't take anything away from me to say, no, I've cried before speeches. I cry sometimes in between meetings, and crying is not about defeat. Sometimes it's your fight, it's your release, it's your release, and it's your reboot. It's my release, and it's my reboot, it's my reset.
I think I've learned to bounce back faster, right? So like one of my friends said, it's okay to cry, it's okay to get upset, it's okay to get angry, but let your bounce back just get a little quicker each time. Like,
I love that.
Just get back up. And I've learned that what you said, like, it's okay. I get off calls and I'm like, that was exhausting, draining. I literally, a couple of tears come out and I'm like, God, you got it. You're in control. Let's move on to the next thing. The next thing I can control, I can work towards, I can, influence and actually direct, and let's focus on that. There's been plenty of days where I had to take a mental health day.
That's it.
I literally just did. I just had to take the day off, and
I just took one yesterday. I just stopped everything and just sat all day on the couch and did nothing.
That's awareness. That's awareness that you need when you're operating at such a high level. You need to be aware of when you are depleted.
I don't have it.
You don't have anything to give, and you have to go back, stay in bed. I don't talk to your wife, husband, whatever it is, therapist, get an emergency, session, whatever it is, prayer, worship, whatever it looks like
all
for
of
you. All of it. Take that mental health day so that when you come back, you can have a fresh mind, perspective, and then you're not coming from a resentful, spiteful, angry place. You can actually do what we were purposed to do in that room, and not be influenced by the negativity or whatever happened prior. I think what you said, I pray every day, God, remind me of my why, and let me be of influence and not be influenced. It's so easy to become what you're surrounded by. If you're surrounded by it every day, you naturally pick up on little things and habits, and I caught myself doing that. I'm like, oh no, that's not who I am. I need to check myself first, ask for accountability with the people I trust and know best. In that case is like my husband. He oftentimes can, because I work from home sometimes, and he's around my work a lot. He can see certain things, and he's like, yeah, you need to relax, you need to, and I'm like, okay, great, there's accountability. And then I also speak to my therapist, hey, I reacted this way. She helps me get down to the nitty-gritty. Why did you react that way? What triggered it? Next time this happens, how can you not react, but actually respond in a healthy way, or not respond at all, because you might not need to respond at all.
That is one of the biggest things that I've had to learn, especially being in public office, right? So I've been an executive for over 20 years. And you've had to sit in the rooms with the microaggressions, the straight out aggressions, the disparities, the disrespect. But being in elected office, and especially coming in right before the pandemic and dealing with increased uncertainty in the nation and social media, people go on social media and say anything they want to say. And I've had to learn, I've learned that the greatest responsibility of power is restraint, right? And sometimes the best answer is a non-answer.
That's right.
Because if the dog barks at the moon, people expect it. If the moon barks back, they're like, what? And so I've learned that people, you have a lot of keyboard warriors and social media critics, but their energy is very different when they see you in person.
Drake called it trigger fingers.
Trigger fingers. So they're like boom, 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 and they see me, hi, Madam Mayor, and I'm like, oh, I was 2 bees yesterday.
Two of them.
I was 2 bees yesterday on social. And they're like, and it's very different when you come see a person. And so some of my greatest mentors, especially now being in elected office and public office, they've said, don't even look at it. Don't look at it. Because and don't look for what people are saying about you that is negative, because you can't change it necessarily. And people are going to say what they want to say. And I tell people, don't send me screenshots. Don't tell me. Don't bring me the information. Not if you love me, because it's like eating a little bit of poison every day. Eventually, it is going to kill you physically. It will kill your spirit. It will kill your peace. And so don't go look for it.
Yeah, I love that. Give me your definition of boss lady. What is a boss lady?
It definitely isn't a position. I know that. That's what it's not.
I love that.
You could be a boss lady and literally be, working like at home. And you could be a homemaker, and you could run your husband and everything that's in the bank account. So it really is just occupying the space you're in, whatever space you're in, and doing it from a genuine place that is serving to others. That's really a boss. Like, if you can influence and serve others in whatever you're doing, that's a boss.
Yeah, love that.
I totally agree. Like I said, it's that mindset. It's that mindset of service. And I believe that we have a responsibility to lift as we climb and to make space. And so a boss lady is not about I'm the only one, but how can I create space for others? How can I influence others? How can I continue to learn, but also teach and grow? Teach and grow. And so, they talk about CEOs, and the old acronym for CEO was continuing education over, because once you reach the top, you just forced everyone around you to do stuff. And I believe that a CEO means continually educating myself and others. Right? So that's what a boss lady is. You're growing within yourself, but you're also making sure that those who are around you are growing. And you have to be careful, because they talk about the law of the leadership lid. When you are around someone who has a low leadership lid, then you can only go as high as the person who you're under. If they have a minimalist attitude and they don't have a growth mindset, then they're going to be terrified of you growing. And so I believe as a boss lady, as a leader, you have to continuously grow. And then you're expanding your capacity, and you're never fearful of those who are around you or underneath you building their capacity. We have to have succession plans. And that is something that we have not done well in communities of color, and definitely in the church. And why not? It's because we were always afraid of losing power and influence. And so you get to a place where you're tired, where you're frustrated, where you're mentally and physically exhausted, and you don't have a strong second, because you never developed them. You never developed them, and then now your legacy is at risk.
Yeah, I love that. Any final words to leave with ladies or men about this subject? Actually, I want to change that. Can you leave? I want the final words to actually be to men. What final words would you like to tell them?
That's a good one. What do I want to tell y'all?
Sound like a lot.
I was going to say something else.
For me, simply, all I want to tell men is we're not in competition with you. I'm not trying to be you. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And that's when it comes to men or women. I'm not in competition with you. I'm here to do what I came to do, what I need to do, and it's not about you or anyone else. My biggest competition is myself. And continually renewing myself. I'm not saying that no one else around me is competition, but we have to push through the negative self-talk that we give ourselves sometime on a daily basis.
Yep.
So I don't have time and energy to, as my mother-in-law used to say, study you. I'm not studying you. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to become a better version of me than I am worrying about you. And I'm sorry, I know this you said for men.
Good.
As I sat under the dryer on Sunday, I was reading a book, and it spoke about women and women healing and women of color just being exhausted and extended and the microaggressions that we're dealing with. But I think one of the most dangerous phrases that we've come up with in the past few years is black girl magic. Because we're like, black girl magic, yes, black girl magic. But as I sat there and I was a day back from my vacation, I said, what is the cost of black girl magic? What is the cost of black girl magic? Because when we talk about black girl magic, you're usually talking about a woman who has done something amazing against all odds. And so you've had to create something out of nothing. You've had to turn around something that is failing. And that's what made it magical, is because you did what others failed to do or couldn't do. But what is the cost? And that's why we're stretched and exhausted and tired and in therapy more than ever before. That's why people are taking sleeping pills and their minds are racing at night, because we are forced to do so much with so little, because we're afraid if we are not successful that others around us and behind us will not get the opportunity. And so oftentimes when we're given a chance, it's because everyone has failed at it. And now we have to prove our worth by almost killing ourselves to produce black girl magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a
Heavy.
lot.
That was
That
heavy.
is.
That was heavy.
As you were saying that, like even families, it's cost women families because we're in a culture where we want to strive and achieve, and we're thinking about what we can achieve next, and sometimes sacrifice even family and the family unit. But what I would tell men, whether it's your sister, your mother, your best friend, your wife, whoever, spend a day or carve out some time in the next couple of months, whenever you have, and take her out to eat, take her out to coffee, do whatever makes you comfortable, and ask her how you can support her, what her experience is. I think oftentimes we don't have spaces like this where we can have conversation and opposing views, opposing experiences, and sometimes a conversation goes a long way.
Yeah.
Getting to hear that person's heart, their needs, their experiences can give you a perspective and can give you a grace for that person that you might have not had otherwise had you not had that simple conversation. And it starts with the conversation. And then after the conversation, I'm all about like practicality. What do you do after the conversation? Like, how do you support that woman?
Yeah.
And even in you choosing to support one woman, that gives that woman a chance to support other women a little bit more in their, like, pep in their step sometimes, and it makes a difference. It does.
Yeah.
I'm not about saying we don't need men and none of that. No.
Please don't do that.
Don't. No. I think we all need each other, and we're all going to bring something different to the table. And there's going to be times where I do appreciate a man speaking up. I do. So I would say take a woman out and ask her and have a simple conversation with her. What is her experience? Where does she need some more support? How can you help?
I love that. And I did it with 2 today. So thank y'all. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for watching this episode of Talk to Me, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single thing. We'll see you next time.